If you feel ugly and you think that therefore you cannot be socially confident, socially at ease, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Seb. I'm a former social anxiety disorder sufferer and a social confidence coach since 15 years. And in this video, I'm going to give you a realistic approach to become socially at ease, even if you're not attractive. Here we go. Let's start out with me reading a comment to you that you see in screen right now that was made under one of my videos. It goes like this. What if I actually have an ugly nose? It's big and bumpy. I've been bullied by my own brothers and sisters, and now everywhere I go, I think everyone is saying in their minds, whoa, what an ugly nose she has. I would love to break this cycle, but nobody has been able to help me and I cannot afford surgery. Right, so the question is, how do I feel confident when I have an ugly nose? Well, let me answer that by sharing a little personal story. So when I was 11 years old, I had an experience where I blushed for the first time, and it was really bad. It was in the middle of the class and everyone laughed at me. And that's actually what kickstarted my social anxiety. What happened was my favorite teacher ridiculed me from the back of the class. She yelled, "Sebastian, can you move with your Dumbo ears away from the television?" Because nobody can see anything. That made me incredibly self-conscious about my ears from that moment forward. And every time I was the center of attention, I would blush. Every time there was a talk about attractiveness or dating or crushes or anything where I could potentially be criticized, I would blush and I would feel anxious. And this was a real problem. Plus, now that I had this weak spot, they started teasing me about my big ears. They called me Dumbo, and they took my ears and they would do this, right? And it's funny now, it wasn't really funny then. It really bothered me, and it caused me to obsessively think about my ears. Oh, there's something wrong with my ears. And it was a weak spot, and it got so bad that I convinced my mom to go with me to the doctor to say, hey, I'm being teased about this. I want to get my ears corrected. Now, I realize that when you look at me now, what's wrong with my ears? You hardly see it. But I don't know what happened. Maybe my head grew, but it for sure was a lot worse than it is right now. Anyway, went to the plastic surgeon and they measured my ears, and indeed they were a bit too far off. And because I was bullied by it and I had a history of trauma, the insurance was going to cover for it. And so we had a date set. And then the next time when I was bullied about my ears, I said, bully me all you want, just wait. I'm gonna get my ears fixed and you've got nothing to say anymore. And then they laughed and they said, then we're gonna call you Barbie. And that really changed something in my mind. It's like, wow, it's not about my ears. It's actually about that they have something that I react to. Okay, so that was the first thing that kind of shifted things around. Later on, I had a conversation under the influence of something with a guy that was a few years older than me, and he kind of talked to me and he explained, it's just people trying to get a rise out of you. Everyone has something wrong with them, and me they teased because my ears were too close to my head, and so that conversation helped me as well. And then I wasn't bothered about my ears anymore. As a result, I didn't feel self-conscious anymore when someone would tease me. And as a result, I had no reaction anymore when the teasing happened. And then when someone actually teased me and there was no laughter, they kind of looked bad, and that made it stop. And so what I'm trying to say here is, because of my ears, I felt that there was something wrong with me. I felt ashamed of myself. And as a result of that, felt insecure, self-conscious, and blushed. But in reality, there wasn't that much wrong with me, and because I realized that, I no longer felt insecure about it. That's one story. Here's another quick story. Maybe 10 years ago, I was already working for 5 years as a practitioner. I work with a client in person. This lady comes over, beautiful girl, like stunning, and she wanted to work on the fact that she felt insecure about her looks. I'm like, what? What's wrong with your looks? It's like, well, my nose is ugly. I'm like, what's wrong with your nose? And she had like a nose that goes up a little bit, but it looks cute. it kind of fit her face. And she's like, well, it looks ugly and I've been bullied about it and so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, well, let's start applying the tapping and let's see what happens. She's like, all right. So what we started addressing was when she was 13, 14, there were a bunch of boys that had teased her about her nose. It became a running joke. And, this was now what she was teased about in school and what she was known for. My first thought was like, these boys were just, they liked you, they were trying to get a rise out of you. But anyway, we did the tapping. We got rid of her shame, her embarrassment, her humiliated feelings, the insecurity that it brought about, the belief that came up that there was something wrong with her and that she was ugly. And at the end of it, she could think about the bullying experience and had no bad feeling anymore. And then we started working on her feelings about her nose, right? And so we released some more layers of, my nose is ugly and it shouldn't look the way that it does and it should be straight and this and that and the other. And hour and a half later, she felt good. I'm like, okay, go look in the mirror and tell me what you noticed. And she looked in the mirror and she's like, yeah, I don't feel bad about it. Actually, it looks kind of cute. True story. We had changed her self-image. She no longer saw herself in the same way as she had felt an hour and a half prior. Prior to that, her self-image had been determined by those bullying experiences. And as a result of that, she had felt ugly, or at least less attractive. And that was corrected in 90 minutes. Now, there are absolutely people that are unattractive, and most people think you're not attractive, right? This girl actually was very attractive. So what do you do then? Well, you do two things. One, you update your psychology with the right kind of logic so you have an empowered perspective. And two, you do lots of tapping. Let's start with one, limiting beliefs. You probably have a whole bunch of limiting beliefs that feel true, that you're convinced of are true, but it might be that they're not true, or it might be that they're only true in some situations some of the time. Let's look at some of them. I'm ugly, so people don't value me. I'm ugly, so people will always judge me negatively. I'm ugly, so I will always be lonely and never find love. I'm ugly, so I will never be happy. I'm ugly, therefore I can't be confident. Now, all of these beliefs are tappable issues. They are thoughts that have emotion connected to it, and that's why they feel so bad. With the tapping, you can release the emotion attached to the thought, and it won't feel so bad anymore. In fact, it won't feel bad anymore when the emotion is disconnected from it. And that's possible to do. And it's important to do because beliefs are like self-fulfilling prophecies. Your mind likes to confirm things that it already believes. It's called a confirmation bias. So your brain will look for evidence to support what it already believes. So if you believe people don't value me because I'm ugly, then your mind will scan for evidence to back that belief up. So you want to shift and change that belief around, and then you can start looking for other evidence where people do value you despite your looks. And one of the things you definitely want to tap on is, I am ugly. That is a big fat belief that needs to be tapped on and shifted and changed around. Now, what I'm not saying is that it's not true at all. Like, I don't know, you don't know what you look like. You might be indeed on a scale of the really good looking and the really ugly, you might be more on this side, and that could be reality. And then indeed, you will experience, based on the societies that we live in, less respect, less value, and all of those kinds of experiences. And that absolutely makes your life experience more challenging. And you can still address how you feel about yourself. You can still, it's possible to recognize the truth of what you look like, and it's debatable whether you're actually ugly or not, and feel really bad about it, like I'm ugly and I feel ashamed and embarrassed and humiliated and insecure and inferior. Or you can feel like I'm less attractive than other people, and yet I value myself, and yet I respect myself, and yet I have confidence in who I am. Which brings me to the next point. Confidence is attractive. Now, way back when, a long time ago, I had this crush on this girl, and things never worked out, but I had this big crush on her, and I thought she was absolutely beautiful at the time. Recently, I looked on Facebook and I looked at her pictures from back then, and I'm like, she's not particularly model looking like or anything like that. She's not not a lot of people just by the picture of her would say, wow, she's really beautiful. But what I remember, there was just something about her energy. She was just very confident, very free in herself. She liked herself. She was joking around. She was playful. She was just a very, very attractive energy to be around. So confidence is attractive, and confidence, yes, you can get it from the outside, but you can cultivate it on the inside as well, which I'll get to in just a second. But first, let's look at the third important psychological concept. Here we go. Inner beauty matters. Now, again, it's absolutely true that most of Western society is superficial, and yes, it's going to be looks first and so on, but that's not everyone, all right? And especially when you get older, your inner beauty becomes more and more important because beauty fades, but your inner beauty remains, and in fact, it develops. So when you can start giving less importance to looks and cultivate your inner beauty and look for people who value that as well and go where you're appreciated most, that's when you can live a very happy life. That said, let's look at 7 tapping action steps that you can take in order to feel socially at ease, even if you're not the best looking. Here we go. 1. Tap to release the pain of the bullying trauma and the limiting beliefs you learned from it. 2. Tap on all significant experiences where people criticized your nose, either verbally or non-verbally, meaning that you saw it on their face. 3. Tap to make your nose less important. Now, when people feel self-conscious or ashamed or embarrassed or insecure about something, they tend to become obsessed about it, constantly thinking about it. Oh, everyone's thinking about my nose, kind of what you described in your question. And so you can use the tapping in order to make that less important so that it's no big deal anymore. Do that. 4. Tap to take your looks less serious. Similar to number 3, when we have something we're self-conscious about and insecure about, we take it really, really serious. And when the topic comes up, it's like, oh, okay, this is a very serious, and we lose the ability, it seems, we don't lose the ability, but it seems like we lose the ability to joke around about it and be playful and lighthearted about it. We want to return to that. So you want to tap in that direction. Obviously, I can't give you complete details about how to do that because it's quite comprehensive, but I'm giving you a big picture of what you want to move towards. 5. Tap to release your own negative judgments about your nose and accept your nose as it is. 6. Tap to get rid of your negative expectations of what you think people think about your nose. 7. Tap to value yourself based on your inner worth, even though you don't fit the beauty standard. Now, all of this is obviously easier said than done, okay? And you're dealing with a difficult challenge. But this is an opportunity for you to go inside and do the inner work in order to boost your confidence, in order to make you feel secure within. Anxiety socially is there because it doesn't feel safe to be yourself. If you feel that you're not worthy because you're ugly, if you feel that people are going to disrespect you because you're ugly, if you feel that you are not worthy of speaking up, like all of those things are inside. And when you shift and change that, even though you have evidence of that really being the case, you can say, look, this is how the world is. When you change things on the inside, your experience of the world will begin to change. Really. At least it will get better. All right? So you can change things on the inside. That's what I advise you to go for. And then go where you're appreciated most. Don't hang out in bars and clubs and superficial places. maybe go to yoga studios and go to where people value inner beauty more over outer beauty, and definitely tap on your ideas about your nose, because it might just be that you're not as ugly as you think. Okay, hope this was helpful. In order to learn more about how to use tapping to overcome social anxiety, go to bit.ly/social confidence now. bit.ly/social confidence now.